As Scott Steiner once said, the numbers don't lie and they spell disaster for you. And that's exactly what the numbers are spelling for Tony Khan and AEW. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling. There was no Big Bang Theory lead-in this week, but I'm sure there was a big bang going on in the head of Tony Khan when he seen the number 502,000.
Absolutely, guys. I'm looking forward to this ever since that number came out earlier. I've been buzzing. It's sad when a poor rating gets you buzzing about wrestling and not the actual product.
Yeah, what's the best moment in wrestling in the past 10 years? AEW doing 502,000.
Oh, yeah.
As sad as that is, it's probably the truth.
Yeah, it's the truth, isn't it?
It's the most exciting thing about wrestling these days. But yeah, it was a shocking number. We're going to break down the quarters. We're going to look at why AEW Dynamite got the numbers that it did. But before we do, let's just touch on a few things here. So, in terms of the key demo, which Dynamite had overall 0.16, they had the 9th lowest key demo of the night. Now, in the past, Tony Khan, Jericho, they've bragged about how they had the highest demo of the night. Normally, they're in first spot, but this week they're down in 9th. Some of the things that they've lost to was pretty poor. Sports Center, they lost to the Euros. I mean, the Euros in America is beating AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, and
the Yanks watching European football.
Wednesday night, what was the match of choice on Wednesday night? I can't necessarily remember. It doesn't really matter. I think it was Czech Republic, Portugal.
Yeah, you've got Exhibition Unknown, Sports Center, College Baseball. The only one in the top 10 that AEW Dynamite defeated was American Dad. So, yeah, just very,
if it was Family Guy, it would have beat it.
Yeah, very, very poor. Now, in terms of the Big Bang Theory, that wasn't the lead-in this week. Instead, the lead-in was the film Black Panther, which I just want to point out absolutely sucks.
Yeah, we watched the final, 10, 15 minutes of it. Actually, you know what? I would actually go out on a limb and say that's the reason why the rating's so fucking bad.
Yes, now, last week, the Big Bang Theory at 7:45 p.m. averaged 229,000 viewers. In comparison to this week, where Black Panther at the same time was averaging 84,000 viewers. So, I mean, that's a big difference there. Almost 150,000 less viewers were on TBS this week than last week heading in to Dynamite. So that's 150,000 less people that have got this channel on, and that could affect the AEW number pretty big. But yeah, let's get into them. Let's go. Quarter one, 8 o'clock, 8:15. Start with, we just go straight into Rush versus MJF, and it did 586,000. That's a horrible number.
That's the best it got.
If you take into the fact that Black Panther was on this week, which I said is a horrible movie, and it was approximately 150,000 down on last week's Big Bang Theory. I mean, if you add that 150,000, if you add every single person that watches the Big Bang Theory from last week to this week, then you're taking the AEW number, the opening quarter, from 586 to approximately 736. So that seems like the number you'd maybe expect AEW Dynamite to open up with, that we've seen over the past few months. So I would say that this low number is probably down to the fact that Black Panther was on and not Big Bang Theory.
Well, I would agree with that, but that's an AEW problem. People should be tuning in for AEW. They shouldn't be relying on the hangarounds for the Big Bang Theory, regardless of it being that or Black Panther. But here, Black Panther sucks. I'm not surprised, but no, it also sucks the fact that nothing else happens in this quarter. It's literally just Rush versus MJF, and that's it.
That's it. Anyway, quarter two, 8:15, 8:30. Rush versus MJF, post-match with Cage of Agony. Hishishiro comes out, Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe backstage. Then we get Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland live promo, and this lost 8%, down to 542,000 viewers. It's concerning that they're still losing 8%, despite not having that much viewers to lose in the first place. But, I mean, we always say that it's hard for them to maintain the viewers on Dynamite because they start with a false reading because of what was on previously. But even this week, they start with a really low quarter, and they still can't maintain it. They still lose a decent amount of viewers.
Yeah, and they do, so there's no real excuse, is there, with the 8% drop off here? I mean, you look at the 18 to 49 minus 11. The same amount numbers getting dropped here, and there's no real excuse when there's not much carrying over from the week.
No, there's not. Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Osprey, Strickland, Prince Nana, live promo, Pish, Don Callis, family backstage, Roderick Strong, Konoshuki, Takashita, Kyle Fletcher and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Dante Martin, Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe and Orange Cassidy. This lost another 8% and it did 496,000 views. In the key demo, it lost 18%, which is a massive loss there. So, I mean, people just tuning out big time. Not that many people tuned in the first place, but that's still not stopping AEW Dynamite for losing numbers here. Very poor. We then go to quarter 4. It was basically just a continuation of the previous match, and then a Mercedes Moné video, minus 1%. We're now down at 489,000. Already, Dynamite is down 97,000, almost lost 100,000 since the beginning of the show. And in the key demo, we've seen another big loss, an 8% loss. So the key demo is so important. We hear that being spoken about all the time by Jericho, by Tony Khan, by Meltzer. And in the opening 3 quarters, they've lost 11%, 18%, and 8%. That's
37%.
That's abysmal. That's just not good.
No, I mean, that's way over a third. I mean, that's an insane amount to lose. And to think they actually hung on to that. They hung their hat on that. Jericho hung his 53-year-old fucking hat on that not many years ago. And look at him now. The learning tree. Well, boy, are you a jobber. Anyway, start of...
Somebody needs to learn. Somebody needs to look at these numbers and do something. Branch out. When I talk about a learning tree, I think that tree needs chopped down.
It needs a bit of water applied.
Anyway, quarter 5, 9 o'clock to 9:15. Rush, Don Callis, backstage angle, the Acclaimed, Okada, Young Bucks. Then they take on the Acclaimed. This went up 1%, which is really poor. 3,000 viewers it gained. This is quarter 5, god damn it. And they're gaining 3,000 viewers.
This is AEW's last chance to get anyone in.
Not good, really not good. Then quarter 6, Samoa Joe and Hook, backstage angle. We get Tony Storm, Mina Shirawa, Mariah May live promo with Saraya, Harley Cameron and Anna Jay coming out. And then we get a Claudio Cascanoli and Pac video. This went up 6% in the viewership.
This was the best thing on the show, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is why it went up.
Yeah, so it went up to 523,000 views. Key demo went up 10% as well. Went up to 222,000 views. So both the viewership and the key demo are up. Is it because of the contract signing? I mean, I don't know. Normally the women don't draw, but I did think that was the best thing on the show. So perhaps that did gain interest at this point. I'm looking at everything else. I highly doubt a Claudio Cascanoli Pac video gained interest.
Ring of Honor.
And the Samoa Joe Hook stuff backstage has been fucking shocking. So I would say either it was the Tony Storm, Mina Shirakawa promo contract signing that caused this little bit of an increase here, or it is just, luck, coincidence. But I think because there's a decent spike in both viewership and demo, I'm going to give the women here the benefit of the doubt. Normally they don't draw, but I guess when the numbers are that low, then anybody half decent has got a chance of drawing. You've got a chance of spiking the number when the number's so low to begin with.
It was also a long segment. I feel like the other segments on the show weren't long. Everything that was long was the matches, and matches don't draw. There's a current theme across wrestling. It's like, see when there are matches on for a prolonged period of time, especially in a quarter by itself, that's when they lose.
If matches drew, then there wouldn't be a loss going into the next quarter when the matches continue.
Yeah,
but we see time and time again that you go into the next quarter with the continuation of the match and they will lose viewers. It's just, people just don't want to see a match go 20, 25, 30 minutes. Who wants to see that? Nobody. I don't get it. Anyway, quarter 7, Nyla Rose, Chris Statlander. We then get the post-match with Stokely Hathaway, Willow Nightingale. Private parties backstage with Chris Jericho, Big Bill, Brian Keefe. Jericho refers to Hulk Hogan again. We're not going to go into the whole Hulk Hogan thing. We've already spoke about that.
The demo don't work for me, brother.
We've already spoke about that in the review there, but we like the Hulkster, so aye.
Yeah.
Hulkamania, Fogmania, Fog Wrestling, running wild.
Say your prayers, eat your vitamins.
This went down 5% though. So Jericho, the king of the demo, how did he do in the demo? Lost 7%. So 5% lost in the viewership, 7% lost in the demo. We're now down to 498,000. But don't worry, it gets worse than that. We move into quarter 8. We get the post match. So after the Jericho Big Bill, Brian Keith backstage angle, we had a really short squash match between Daniel Garcia and Titus. Then, as soon as that finishes, quarter 8 begins, 9:45 to 10 p.m. So we get the post match of Titus versus Daniel Garcia, and then we get a bunch of people getting involved. We get Matt Menard, Cage of Agony, Hichirio, MJF, Osprey. It ends with MJF and Osprey getting face to face. Then we go straight in to a Claudio Cascanoli and Pac main event Owen Hart tournament match, and this loses 13% in the viewership to go down to 431,000. That's a loss of 67,000 viewers, and then it lost 22% in the key demo, from 207,000 in the key demo to 161,000. These numbers are fucking shocking. This is the main event, Owen Hart tournament. You got Claudio Cascanoli versus Pac. Just before that, you have Osprey versus MJF face to face. Everyone's talking about how this is going to cook. Well, it looks like by the time this started cooking, everybody was burnt out because, I mean, you've got a massive loss here.
It's like when you've got a barbecue, one of those disposable barbecues, and it only gives you 45 minutes of cooking, and they've decided to put this match on 15 minutes after it's expired. No one wants to see this at the end of the night.
Yeah, then we get the overrun, 8 minutes past 10, 10 o'clock to 10:08, Cascanoli versus Pac. We get the post-match with Bryan Danielson, where Claudio looks at Danielson and Danielson says, "That's how it goes, buddy.
You lose some, you win
That's
some.
how it goes.
50-50 booking, buddy."
And, well, you win some, you lose some. This just lost some. We see the overrun once again go down, minus 2%. It's very rare that the overrun goes down, but I mean the overrun went down this week, 2%, another 8,000 viewers lost, and the key demo went down 6%. So yeah, guys, just a really, really shocking week here for Dynamite. 502,000 overall viewers, 213,000 viewers in the key demo. And it'll be interesting to see where Dynamite go next week, because this number is really concerning. I mean, they will probably bounce back. I imagine they can't do much worse than this. But the fact that they've done this in the first place is really poor. I'm going to assume that Tony Khan will be onto TBS begging them to put the Big Bang Theory back on. But this very well could be the future of AEW Dynamite. I mean, I do think they will bounce back. I think next week they'll probably get a ratings either, I don't know, high 600s or maybe, if they're lucky, very low 700s. But in the future, in the not so distant future, we could be seeing AEW Dynamite falling back into the 500,000 territory. Not just that, maybe possibly dropping under 500,000. The signs have been there. I predicted this a couple of months ago. I says by the end of June, Dynamite would fall under 600k. I wasn't expecting it to be quite this low, but I mean, what do you know? This show was shit, and to top it off, at the end of the night, you have Tony Schiavone and you have Excalibur saying how this was one of the best Dynamites ever. And it just clearly wasn't. I can only assume that Tony Khan is begging them to say that, shouting at them, telling them he's doing a Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He wants them to say that because he knows this show isn't good. He knows it's a shit show, and we actually seen a really good ending to Monday Night Raw. I think this is Tony Khan trying to counteract it. You know, if you try and tell people something's great, you've got gullible people that will believe it. It happens in WWE. Triple H sometimes tries to tell us that this era is better than any of the previous eras, and some people believe that. Some people are dumb. If you tell some people that, you know, the sky is red, some people will look up and they will see a red sky. And I think that's the tactics that AEW Dynamite had here at the end of this show, because they told us not once, not twice. I mean, it must have been like 6 or 7 times in the last 15 minutes, the final quarter. They kept repeating that this is one of the best Dynamites of all time. And they must have knew it sucked. There's nothing going on. There's no stories going on. We're going into Forbidden Door. and it's just a bunch of random matches. AEW talents versus talents from other companies. There's nothing to see in this show. It wasn't one of the best Dynamites. It was one of the worst Dynamites of this year, so not surprised they done a low number, but I am kind of surprised the number was this low.
More often than not, if you're saying that something's the best of all time in terms of an episode, it's not. See when wrestling, see Mania X7, see at the end of the show, is JR hyping up as the greatest Mania of all time, or are they engrossed in the story?
Yeah, all JR has to do is call the action, call what he's seeing, and then you can decide for yourself how good it is.
I think it's cringe that doing that.
See, could you imagine if JR, instead of putting over the fact that Austin and McMahon had aligned themselves with each other, JR was wasting his time saying, "Oh, this is one of the best WrestleManias of all time"?
No, it would have completely sucked, but 423 is the final overrun here, the final rating. I mean, that's fucking horrendous. 423. I mean, that's
collision numbers.
Aye, collision numbers, and AEW's on a downward trajectory, right? There's no doubt about that. This time next year, 2 years from now, we were talking about going under 600k before the end of June. I mean, Bischoff hyped that up quite a lot, and Bischoff, Uncle Eric's always right. Could it just be that maybe 500k will be the new norm, then 400k, and by the time you know it...
I think Bischoff stole that from me, by the way.
Maybe he did. He started saying NXT would start smoking AEW, and he's no wrong.
Plus, NXT are going to be moving to the USA Network, and that's in a lot more homes. Or is it CW, is it? What is it?
I can't remember what it's called. But
anyway, they're moving to... I believe they're moving to a network that's going to have, like... Is it 15 million more homes or some crazy number like that?
You know what the problem is, though? Tony Khan is signing fucking jobbers and giving them... You know, people may laugh, but see Joe Hendry, he's a fucking bigger draw than Will Ospreay and Okada, and he would cost a fraction of the price.
Yeah, but here's the thing. What can Tony Khan do? I mean, he spent... In terms of, like, the duration of the contract, he spent, I believe... way over $30 million on Mercedes Moné, Ospreay, and Okada. So he spent over $30 million on those guys. He brought those three in. They've done absolutely nothing. You've got MJF coming back from, what, a 6-month layoff? He's supposed to be the main man. He's supposed to be the star, the draw. He says he's the biggest thing in pro wrestling. He's came back. And what has the return for MJF done for AEW Dynamite? I mean, his return, it did decent in a YouTube clip, and I think this first week back, he got like 900,000 in the first quarter. What's he done since then?
Nothing. So
the MJF effect, that's pretty much dead.
They are running out of rolls of the dice. The dice is worn. What else is there for Tony Khan to do?
I think Tony Khan's next step is reaching out to Bill Goldberg. Goldberg says he wants one more retirement match. I don't think Goldberg in 2024 is going to do much for a rating, to be honest. Will he get you a boost? Yeah. Of course he will.
I'll welcome Goldberg, right? But as you say, one more match, it's going to be like a 2-month run at best if they build it up with promos.
I don't think this will ever happen. In fact, I know it'll never happen. But how fucking like surreal would it be if Tony Khan hired Vince McMahon to be the new chairman of AEW?
Would he do it? No, I would not. Maybe if Vince left in normal circumstances, but not with all that heat.
Could you imagine that though? Vince McMahon taking over AEW and competing against the company that he built?
That could be the only thing that could save wrestling.
I mean, that could save AEW.
It could.
Even if he can't get Vince, even having Shane come in. Shane McMahon taking control of AEW.
Going against Triple H, who took that spot from him.
Yeah, the Dolph Ziggler meme. It should have been me. I think you need something drastic like that. If you can't get a McMahon into Dynamite, then you need Dwayne Johnson. I mean, that's, and I don't think you can get him.
No, you're not going to get him. You got the money to get him though.
You do, but it just doesn't seem possible. Other than that, they ain't going to get John Cena. John Cena's WWE man. He's company man. He's never leaving to the AEW Dynamite.
Not in a month of Sunday, says John leaving.
I mean, I think Brock would maybe do it, but I can't imagine Tony Khan wants to sign someone like Brock.
Which is pathetic.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. These numbers were really, really poor. Is what it is. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Very low. Will they get lower than this? I mean, they could at one point. I don't think it's going to be next week though. I think this will be the lowest Dynamite rating we see for a while, because it is very low. Let's keep in mind, guys, it's 502,000. I mean, we're talking almost half a mil. It's a drastically low number. We'll see how they bounce back next week. We'll see how they bounce back tomorrow night when Collision's on. Will Tony Khan respond? Does he feel he needs to respond, or is the guy in denial? Does he believe if he keeps doing what he's currently doing, it's going to pay off? I think Tony
What's
Khan.
he currently doing? There's nothing to pay off.
I think Tony Khan believes that AEW is doing great right now, or at least he's lying to himself. I don't really know. Well, they say that, denial. If you overcome denial, that's the first step in moving in the right direction. You have to acknowledge there's a problem. Maybe if Tony Khan acknowledges that there's a problem, then he can improve. But I mean, right now, what have we seen? We've seen nothing. We've seen AEW Dynamite pretty much go from doing 900k to probably struggling now to get 700k, and he hasn't really changed the product. He hasn't really changed anything. He's doubled down on signings from fucking Japan and Mexico and things that just do not work. So when's he going to start doing things that do work, or just try something different?
No, I agree. I mean, you look at the NXT thing that they're doing with TNA. I'm not saying that's the greatest thing of all time, but did he jump the shark with that one? Should he not have attempted that? Get more pally-pally with TNA?
I don't think it works. So I mean, TNA guys coming to
the developmental brand.
Yeah, that's more. I think that does more for NXT than
what I would say is,
though, I mean, Dynamite.
3 years ago, you did have like Christian and Omega feuding over the TNA title, and they, had it in AEW. And I'd say AEW was a lot better 3 years ago than it is right now.
Like you said, that was Christian Cage. Look at the guys in TNA now.
Joe Hendry, the Hardys.
Well, he had the Hardys and he messed that up. So anyway, guys, that's it. We'll catch you in the next one. Till then, peace.